It's time to relive great moments with former Cowboys.
Eddie, something with the all-time great.
You know, that's one of the great things in having the opportunity to coach here at Oklahoma State was the fact that you had such great people.
It's time for Where Are They Now on Triple Play Sports Radio.
John Farrell, former Cowboy pitcher back in the early 80s.
And, you know, mostly putting up with me, I guess, after, chasing everybody around, chasing us around the country.
Where Are They Now? Our weekly talk with former Oklahoma State athletic coaches, players, and personnel.
Desmond Mason, former All-American player here at Oklahoma State.
So today, that's what I spend most of my days doing. For the most part is, in the studio trying to paint and trying to create, and I enjoy doing that.
It's like catching up with an old friend every Wednesday.
Boy, do I feel old today, as I always do on a Wednesday when we bring back some of these former athletes. We're talking with Houston up.
Sure did. Had a great time. That was of course, my mom and dad went to school there. My brother, Dickie, as you mentioned, went to school there. And, of course, we both met our wives right there in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Now your host, ready to take a stroll down memory lane, here is Tom Dirato.
Well, thank you, and welcome once again to Where Are They Now? And, we're going to go all the way down to Port St. Lucie, Florida, and we're going to catch up with a guy who's been on this radio show a number of times, former Cowboy standout pitcher Trey Cobb, who's now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, rehabbing from Tommy John surgery. And how is that going there, big boy?
Well, it's going really well. Me and my wife said, everything happens for a reason. We kind of live our life by that motto, and hopefully, this is that last kind of push that gets you to the big leagues. And a lot of pitchers have to go through it, unfortunately.
As we're looking at the push that you're mentioning there, I guess two things come to mind, and we've talked about this before, so I guess we're not fooling anybody. But number one, I think the fact that they keep you in Port St. Lucie to rehab the Tommy John for a number of months says a lot about what they think of you in the organization. And, they could have sent you to North Dakota to rehab, and you wouldn't have anything to complain about. I mean, being in Port St. Lucie is not a bad deal.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, they have a lot of guys where they'll send them home, and then kind of have them come back for kind of like checkpoints and stuff like that. And a lot of those guys are finishing school or doing something like that. But I got my school all finished, so they said, hey, you and your wife should move down here for the long haul of this thing. So we're down here for as long as we can be, and as long as they keep us around. I was joking that I signed for $20,000, so I think I totaled myself in the surgery. So now they have a little bit invested in me when they didn't have it before.
You know what? You can look at it that way, Cobb, and that is your business side looking at things right there. But do you agree with me about how? And it's hard to get a read on this, but I mean, if they didn't think you were going to be part and parcel of this organization, they might not have done this for you and said, stay down there and rehab where we can keep an eye on you.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a fear of mine just because it happened in the off season. Away from a Mets facility, it happened on my own time in a cage in Oklahoma, and so, I could have called them and they very well say, "Oh, well, it was nice to have you. See you later."
Yeah.
But the fact that they went through and they treated me, I mean, world class in New York City. I told them my arm was hurting on Thursday, coming back from Stillwater. And they had me in Port St. Lucie by Friday morning, and then they had me in New York City on the table on that next Tuesday. I mean, and it was unbelievable. I mean, black car service all around Manhattan, and you would have thought that I was like Jacob deGrom or something, not some minor league relief pitcher running around there. But it was that's something I'll never forget is how the Mets treated me through that process.
Well, that says a lot because some organizations talking to you guys who've gone on to pro ball are rather secretive about future plans and where you fit in and all those good things. So let's kind of read those tea leaves and look positively there if they give you that kind of treatment. You may mention, how did you hurt it? You said you hurt it here in the state, but, too much throwing? What was the deal?
Yeah, well, in college, I had bone spurs in my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
So my senior year, right before it started, my bone spurs are no big deal, but my bone spur broke before my senior year, but it missed my ligament. So they said, hey, we're going to do Tommy John. And they said, oh, wait, no, we're not. We're just going to heal the bone spur back together. And, I had a couple, pretty reliable doctors tell me, hey, that's a, short-term fix for a long-term problem. But I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of Oklahoma State before I was 25 years old. So I wanted to be able to pitch my senior year with the guys I went in there with. And so I said, all right, let's put a Band-Aid on this thing and see how long it lasts. And, they said 25, 30 innings, and they got me like 150 innings. But I felt great all off season. I picked up a ball, went to throw my first bullpen, getting ready for spring training. I was supposed to throw a 25-pitch bullpen, and on pitch 20 I threw it, and that bone spur broke again, and it just smashed my ligament and tore it all up, and I definitely felt it.
Now that was here, and you said in Oklahoma City. You heard it?
It was in Tulsa at Broken Arrow. We're just hanging with the high school kids, so they got to see that happen. So I'm sure they were excited about that.
Well, I don't wish any ill will toward Broken Arrow kids, but you inflicted a lot of will on us when I was over in Coweta. So that's not an equal trade. I don't want that to happen to anybody. But the fact is, now you're on the mend. Give us a typical day right now in Trey Cobb's life. What do you do, and how do they go about making sure that you're on track?
It's kind of like the best summer camp of all time. I mean, I wake up, early in the morning. My wife takes me to the field on her way to work, and so we get up moving around about 6 a.m., and then I get in, meet with the nutritionist when I get there, and they make sure that I'm, still behaving off the field and my diet. And then, you go eat your breakfast at the field. They've got really good food, kind of whatever you want, and they'll fix it up for you. And then I get on this thing called a watt bike. It's like an exercise bike that I think was like designed for the Tour de France people or something. But they're treating me like I'm training for it. And I am. If riding a bicycle all day translates to throwing the baseball harder, I mean, I'm down. So I pretty much just destroy my legs on this exercise bike, and then I'll do, rehab, and I'm home on the couch with the dog by 1 o'clock every day. I mean, you can't beat that. It really is like the greatest summer camp ever. You get to hang out, go around, hang out with the baseball guys, get some new experiences every day. But it's weird to say that I'm having a blast during rehab, but I kind of am right now.
It sounds like a pretty good deal. And even though I have embellished the story, you probably don't live right on the beach, but you're probably not too far away from the water, right?
Yeah, well, for spring training, we had a rental house then, and I mean, we were on the beach. It was, we could be in the sand in 2 minutes from our front door, and then you go to the field. I mean, it was amazing. We're about 15-minute drive from the beach now, and the only reason it's 15, it's about 4 miles, but 15 minutes. But I mean, I couldn't ask for a better spot. Everybody wants to be in Arizona for some reason for spring training, so that all the teams are closer together because they don't like the driving. Mm-hmm. Give me Florida. Give me the beaches instead of being stuck in Phoenix for a summer. That would be horrible.
I guess there's a team in Port St. Lucie, right, playing. So are you around games, even though you're not playing? Are you around the game atmosphere?
They kind of give you the option. You can, or you can if you want to. So the games that I'll be around are the Gulf Coast League games, which is, the young kids that just got drafted. They don't start till June.
Okay.
It's the young kids that just got drafted and the, 16-year-old Dominican guys out there. So, every kid's throwing 100 miles an hour and they're beaning everybody and nobody knows where the ball's going. The games last 6 hours, but I've got some, minor league experience and some time, so I think I only have to watch like 3 innings, and then I get to go home. But those 3 innings are going to be that's when rehab's going to start hurting a little bit more.
It'll make that stay in New York seem a lot better, a little bit more structured than what you're in there right now. Do you get any of the vets coming down? Is that where they rehab? If you get hurt on the big leagues, you go down there and kind of work it out?
Yeah. All the big league guys, if they get hurt, they come down with us. They have the same nutritionist, same strength coach. So how they do it, is they have a strength coach for every level of baseball, but then there's a rehab strength coach. So that guy only sees the rehab guys. There's a rehab pitching coach, rehab hitting coach, all that stuff. So right now Todd Frazier's down here with us, and
Yeah.
so it's really cool to just kind of be able to hang around Todd and just listen to him tell stories. And that guy's a heck of a storyteller for sure. And I know that I've been hanging out with your brother Chris, using him to get tickets to air shows and stuff like that. So I know he knows Todd. He's interacted with him, and he really likes him too. But yeah, it's been really fun. I think we got another guy coming down at the end of this week, I think, but I can't remember who it is. But it's been, you never get used to seeing, stars just walking around.
Yeah, Frazier's from Chris's neck of the woods down here in South Jersey, and I wonder, do you know, you're not the doctor, you're not the team doctor, but when is he ticketed to get back into action?
No, he's close. I mean, he's been playing every day with the St. Lucie team down here, and so I think it's just a matter of time for when Brody's ready for him, and then they'll get him up there. But he's moving really well. He seems like he's ready to go. So I think he's getting excited to get out of Port St. Lucie and get up to New York City.
The last time we talked, a lot of things have happened, and we'll get into the you weren't married. I don't think the last time we had you on. Close to it, but you weren't married. But let's stick to the baseball side. You were feeling very confident that this was going to be the year where you could make a push. Start out, A, and if things fell right and you had a great year, you might end up in Double-A before it was all said and done. Do you still entertain those types of hopes, not knowing how the arm's going to be when you finally get to throw?
Yeah, definitely. It was really tough. The Mets put us up in a hotel in Queens. I mean, in Citi Field's parking lot. So we left the operating room, and went right to Citi Field basically, and looking at it. And I was talking to my wife, and I said, I think the goal is, my goal was always September 2020, kind of be in that wave of guys that get called up at the end of that year.
Mm-hmm.
That was always my hope. And I told her, I was like, I think we're still on track. We missed 2019. It's not the path we wanted to go, but 2020 starts, and hopefully I'll be better than ever. They say at 18 months after Tommy John surgery, you start to feel like a superhero, like you can throw the ball and do things with it you've never been able to do before. And that puts it at September 2020 is 18 months from my surgery. So let's hope that when I come back, I don't have any hiccups, and I can, maybe hang out in A-ball for a month and then get to Double-A and prove my worth from there. But yeah, September 2020 has been the goal, and it still is, thankfully.
Well, being a longtime Mets fan, I kind of scrutinize a little closer than some, maybe not as much as you because you're in the business, but there's definite need for somebody to come out of the bullpen and stabilize things from game to game. And the timing, while is not great this year because you're not available, I think a good guy out of the pen in any organization, I don't care what level you're on, would be highly coveted.
Yeah, and it's just it's different. A lot of the guys that I compete against, and it's one of those advantages that going to Oklahoma State gave me over a lot of these kids that come from high school, or they come from another school where they didn't pitch in these big time games and stuff. It's these kids are out there and they're super nervous, and they're pitching in front of 2,000 people on a whatever night, and they got a 2-run lead, and they just crumble because they can't handle it, and they get too hyped up and stuff like that. And I think that's something that pitching at Oklahoma State, going to the College World Series, it's all just kind of numb. You feel like it's just pitching. No out is more important than any out is before that. So I feel like that kind of separates. That's one of the things that is able to separate me from maybe a guy that throws 100 miles an hour or throws, or has incredible stuff when my stuff is, average. I feel like that mental side of things really gives me that edge, and hopefully Familia can just, when he locks it in, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I think he'll lock it in pretty soon, and that the Mets are going to be pretty tough in the 8th and the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, Diaz is unbelievable, and that was a great acquisition. He seemed almost unhittable. Now, getting to him has been something of a chore. Wilson, Familia, you mentioned, they've been up and down, in my opinion, this year. Yet they still won 10 games, so I guess I can't be too greedy. But getting back to yourself, some teams tell you what's in the future. Some teams may tell you when the future gets there and let you kind of hang around a little bit. What feeling did you get? And we already covered this as far as the injury was concerned, but do you still have that feeling that, hey, they think I can get the job done here?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely treat me like it, and the coaches seem like they really respect me, and the trainers seem like they respect me, and it seems like I don't feel like I'm wasting anyone's time there for sure, and that's important because that was one of my fears. I thought I was like, I might go into this rehab and be a little fish in a big pond, and especially being not healthy, I might even be a littler fish in the pond, a fish with a broken fin or something. But they've treated me just, world class, and they make you feel like that you could be a guy, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of organizations fail in that aspect of making each player feel important and feel like they could be that potential guy in the big leagues. But the Mets do a great job of it. So I feel like I feel confident in myself, and I feel like they feel confident in me, and that helps me a lot every single day.
Will you talk to others who have had Tommy John surgery to kind of get on board with that? And it's easy for me to say because I didn't have the surgery, but you hear it. The arm's going to come back better than it was before the surgery took place. You got to believe in that, but have you talked to any who have done this before?
Yeah, I actually texted, Jensen Elliott, Ben Leeper, and just, talked to those guys, and I was like, man, how did you get through this? Because it's tough. You go from doing something every single day from when you're 3 years old until you're 24, and then all of a sudden you can't do it for a year. You're kind of lost, and they gave me some really helpful tips, and there's some good friends I have down here with the Mets. Anthony Kay helped me a lot. He talked to me through kind of how his arm feels now, when to say something to the trainer, when to not, because you're going to have aches and pains. You can't tell them every ache and pain you have, or you're going to drive them crazy. Mm-hmm. So you got to know what an ache is, and you got to know what a pain is. So, I have endless resources of guys that have, unfortunately, you as a Mets fan, that I have endless resources of teammates that have gone through it. So, it's been nice.
Is it one of those things, and maybe Elliott, was a good example. Leeper, I think Leeper had a couple, didn't he, that he had to deal with. But is it the mental side that you got to get through, knowing that, hey, it's fine structurally, now I can cut it loose?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot like, a torn ACL on a football or a basketball player, and you're not really 100% until your mind believes that you're 100%. Mm-hmm. And you'll keep babying it, and a lot of guys baby it, and they hurt their shoulder because they're throwing wrong. And it's just important to be able to trust the guys that are giving you the treatment, trust the program that you're in. If you don't trust who's telling you when to throw and how much to throw, then I think that's when people run into some problems. But we've had a really good track record of guys coming back from it. DeGrom had the same trainer, same treatment, everything. All those guys do, and so they're gonna, if they're trusting these same guys with that arm and my arm, I'm gonna do whatever they tell me to.
That's a good company to be in. I don't know when is the actual. It's probably putting you on the spot, but the actual date that you think you could be released, because I want to get you like the day after, or so to speak, to see how the arm feels and get you on and get your reaction. But what is the potential release date if everything goes smoothly?
Yeah, well, I start. My first day of playing catch is June 15th or something like that. So I'll throw about 30 feet on June 15th and just kind of get my wings back under me. But I get on a bullpen mound in 10 months. So I think December, and then hopefully February 5th is 12 months. They say it's a 12 to 15 month recovery, but hopefully February 5th I'll be texting you saying, "Hey, let's talk tomorrow. I threw a bullpen and it went awesome." So but I'll definitely keep you updated every time, and because I know that it's every baseball fan hears all that stuff about Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
It's wild because it's become such the norm that somebody says, "Oh, I got Tommy John surgery," and people say, "Oh, okay, well, that's no big deal." But I mean, you got to they took 13 inches of a ligament out of my leg, and they put 13 inches of that same ligament in my elbow. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I got a brand new arm over here. So, it's a complete reconstruction, and it's stressful, but I'm excited. I think February 5th I think I'll be ready to go, but, praying for no hiccups.
That's one of those deals where it's just minor surgery. Well, it's minor if it's not me. It's not happening to me. It's major if it's happening to somebody else. And there's certainly enough people watching over you. So, best of luck there, and between you and my brother, you guys can keep me posted on the progress. I talked about the last time you were on here. I don't think you were married yet. You were close to being married. How's that going for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. She's down here with me. We brought the dog, so we said, hey, we're gonna do this thing all in. We're moving down to Florida. She's living in a little bit of a frat house right now. We have 4 guys on the team as our roommates. So I don't think she ever imagined that her first year of being married. But, hey, she's liking it. She's working down here. So I couldn't be happier. She's great. She puts up with the boys. So if she can do that, then I think she can make it.
These are guys from that are on the Port St. Lucie team, I assume, who have just been brought in, I guess.
Yeah, so it's been nice. We have opposite schedules of them. We kind of do all our stuff in the morning, going to work, going to rehab, and then they have their games at night. So we don't see too much of them, but just enough to let us know they're there. You
mentioned you text Elliot, you text Leaper. Are you keeping up? Well, now you got time to keep up, I guess, with the progress of this baseball team this year. It's had its ups and downs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's been, one of the things that's been nice. This is like the first NCAA tournament I actually got to watch in basketball forever, because you're always playing. But then, getting to watch these guys, this is kind of the last year where there's guys I know playing baseball still at Oklahoma State. And so it's been really awesome to be able to follow them in their final season. And, those ups and downs are frustrating. If I hadn't been in that locker room before, I would just be it would be tough to be a fan sometimes, because you're, well, what are we doing? Like, wait, well, they obviously know what they're doing. I was there when they did the exact same stuff, and it always works, But you still, it's baseball. I mean, it's crazy.
You talked about your demeanor, and certainly, what effect was Walton? What effect did he have on you? Being calm, being able to handle this thing, turn the page. I know it's still cliche. Next pitch, turn the page, all that stuff. But what kind of effect did he have while you were here?
Oh, he was awesome. I mean, he was that father figure that every coach tells you they're going to be when they're sitting in your living room. Yeah. You hear it 1,000 times, but he actually lived up to it. And he was everything I could have asked for. And if you didn't have that demeanor, you weren't going to pitch. I mean, obviously I would imagine things are still the same, but, with us being there, it was, he was really hard on us, really demanding, and that's what you wanted. And he was always, don't get too high, don't get too low. As soon as you think you're good, the game's going to turn around and get you, and stay humble. But he really taught us how to pitch and taught us how to be calm, and that's why I wanted him to, marry me and Casey. So, he was standing right up there with us. And I told him whenever I asked him if he would marry us, I said, Rob, I don't know if you'll be comfortable doing this or not. I know you're kind of in your shell kind of guy, and this is really out there. But imagine, being in a recruiting battle with somebody that had to administer a person's wedding.
Right.
You're going to lose that recruiting battle.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that changed. I think he was going to do it anyway, but I think that might have pushed him a little bit further towards it.
Well, you've had a great relationship with him, and, this is putting you on the spot. You might have to paraphrase, but can you remember one exchange when he walked? And Rob, I get on him all the time because I was doing this stuff with him when he was 18 years old, so that's far back as we go. But one exchange on the mound that kind of sticks out in your mind that, if you have to clean it up, clean it up. But, I mean, the way he just got his point across, either turned and walked away or said, "You're done and I'm getting somebody else."
Yeah, I've got two favorite Rob Walton stories. So
Here we go. Go ahead.
My first one, sophomore year of college, we're down playing at Arizona State. They just opened their ballpark. They just moved into it, sold out, crazy. And I throw Friday night, and I threw like 3 innings and like strikeout 6. And he was so excited. He was like, "You got it!" Like, because we've been working for it. I come back on Sunday, and the only out I get is a wild pitch pass ball to the catcher that we get the guy out at home. I think I walked 4 in a row, gave up a double, something like that. He, in between innings, he talked to me and he said, "You're like, how could you ever, be a father if you can't command that outside fastball? How could you how could you ever be a husband? What are you gonna do whenever this goes wrong and this goes wrong and you're gonna crumble, you're weak," and like all this stuff, challenging your manhood and who you are. And he said, when you go back out there, when he said that, I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going back out there." But he said, "When you go back out there, you're going to show me like what kind of man you are. You're going to show me how you're going to provide for your family and how you're going to be a great father." And then first pitch I threw, I hung a slider to a kid and he hit a double down the line. And he comes out, didn't say a word, just stuck his hand out and just stared right at me in the eyeballs. And I just tossed him the ball, and I thought, I'm probably going to have to transfer. I don't know if I'm going to pitch here again. And then my other story was same year, big growing up year for me, I guess. But it was about 3 weeks later, and we were down at Auburn, and I gave up, I think, 6 singles in a row between first and second base. And I got so mad, just lost my composure on the mound. And I got 0-2 on a guy. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to light the scoreboard up right here. I'm going to throw this ball as hard as I can and show all these people how mad I am right now." So 0-2, I spike this fastball, hits almost the grass in front of home plate, bounces over the catcher, guy scores. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. It's 1-2 count. We're good. I'm walking back to the mound. I turn around, and Rob's walking out with me. And I was like, uh-oh, he's going to chew me out. And he walks out, and he goes, "Not watching this today." And then he just pulled his hand out and pulled me on a 1-2 count. We brought in a little lefty, just flipped a little curveball in, struck the guy out. And I was like, wow, I never thought in my career I'd ever get pulled in a 1-2 count. But he came out, and I cleaned it up a little bit for him, but he just held his hand out and said, "I'm not watching this today." I said, okay, and just took my lumps. But what a great man that is, and the number of kids' lives that he's changed is just, it has to just be countless. I mean, he's everything that you could possibly want to represent, you or your university, and we're lucky to have him for sure.
I've been a Rob Walton fan from the day he set foot on campus as a young right-hander, and he had all that hair. He couldn't keep his hat on, all that stuff as he threw a pitch. But he's been one of my favorite guys that's ever come through the program. And ironically, before we cut you loose, he's got a guy I'm sure you don't know that much about, but he's got a guy named John Kelly on the staff who's from his same hometown. And John is working his way through all the trials and tribulations, and he's got good enough stuff to get in there and throw a lot of pitches. And I think yesterday was Walton's birthday. How about that? On top of everything else, he's probably like 110 right now. But whatever it is, he's probably not 110, but maybe close to it because he's been around here forever.
Yeah, we've definitely put some years on him, that's for sure.
I was going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. You guys probably had, every time he comes to the yard, he had about 10 years probably.
Yeah. I think I added 40 myself, and maybe Tyler Buffett added the other 60.
He might have. That's a good way to end it right there. Hey, hope that things continue to go well for you. I know you keep me posted. Chris will keep me posted, and we'll get you back on because a lot of people want to know about how it's going for you. And, if you got to have rehab somewhere, I mean, Port St. Lucie sounds like as good a place to me as any. Enjoy your summer camp, if you will, and best of luck in your recovery. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
All right, buddy. See ya. That's Trey Cobb, one of the good guys. And, if you got to have rehab, man, it's not a bad place to be right there. He's just a good guy, and I think he does. I really think he does. If he comes back strong, he figures in the plans of the Mets for sure, and their relief corps is in need of him right now.